off by saying that the struggle is real. And what we've seen in the last couple of days in Zimbabwe are the gross human rights violations that have been escalated by the regime against Citizens Coalition for Change members and leadership. And so on Thursday, the 17th of February, Vanaldo, who is a radio DJ, so he DJs for Change Radio voluntarily, and is also a member of the CCC, was attacked by ZANU-PF members at his home. He's disabled. He uses crutches to walk. His parents were also brutally assaulted. And what was really shocking about that assault was that they were locked up in their house while that happened. But very fortunately, Vanaldo was able to send a message via Twitter to the world, so that they could get help. So that was really sad that that happened. And it's not the first time that Vanaldo has been targeted by ZANU-PF. So last year in November, he was beaten up in the streets by ZANU-PF chairman for Highfields, Zondai Zuze, because they live in the same vicinity. Um, and Vinaldo says that everything to do with Highfields residents, intimidation, and assaults is being coordinated by Zuze. So they are intimidating anybody that identifies as having a dissenting voice, anyone that speaks about human rights, anyone that calls out corruption, is targeted by the regime for assaults, for intimidation. And then, very sadly, and all of this is quite shocking, is that yesterday in the morning, ZANU-PF, led by Zondai Zuze, were back at Venaldo's house, where a funeral was taking place for his relative, and his relative had died from injury sustained in a hit and run. And so they are at home at this funeral, and funerals are very sacred. And then they started again to try and assault the family. And Venaldo is very, very brave. He recorded Sundai Zuze and his gang threatening him, because they were threatening him for having tweeted to tell the world what was happening and what was going on with them. But it shouldn't surprise us that since all this happened to Venaldo, Zondai Zuze has still not been arrested. And so he uses his privilege as a member of the ruling party, ZANU-PF, to perpetrate violent crimes against opposition members. And he gets away with it. And we know that police Zimbabwe are a captured arm of the regime, so they never act. They ought to be protecting citizens, making arrests where a crime is committed, but they choose to ignore. And for those that may not have seen, there are shocking video footages that are going around from yesterday, where police Zimbabwe were videoed beating up CCC members at Harare Central Hospital. And so these individuals had been arrested in the central business area around 3 p.m. in Harare. They were wearing their yellow t-shirts. Some of them were not. And so they were already beginning to intimidate them so they can stop them from going to the rally that is tomorrow. So that's what was so important, that London branch could be here to talk about some of these issues and also share their views. And so they took them to the police station and started to beat them. And they were made to crawl. So literally, Police Zimbabwe told the CCC members and supporters to crawl, and they were on their floor crawling. And while they were crawling, they were being beaten. And since their arrest, the arrest of these CCC members, they've not been charged yet. So they're just locking people up to deter them and to intimidate them from going to the rally tomorrow. And today also, 80 members of the CCC in Masvingo have been arrested. So we don't know what the update is so far. I think what ZANU-PF are doing is extremely criminal. It is terrorism. I don't know how else to describe it other than criminal terrorism. And that we need a lot of voices, a lot of us talking about it, shouting about it, telling the world about it. We also need the international world to do something, to talk about it and not to look away, but to call it out. Because this evil must stop. It's an outrage. And all of us need to be outraged. And if people are not outraged, they need to ask why they are not outraged by this, because the brutality that we are witnessing now is a precursor to what's going to happen in 2023. So it's going to get bloody. So this is the start. It's not going to stop. It's starting now until 2023. There'll be more arrests. There'll be more people put in prison on frivolous charges. People are going to die. We're just going to witness this. That's why we all need to come together as citizens to support the cause. And we can do that in so many ways. And one of the ways is London branch is supporting a candidate that they've been twinned with in Tsholotsho, and they were going to ask for people to make pledges to that. So I'm just going to pause there for a minute, and just ask if there's anyone that wants to share, that wants to speak, if they want to just raise their mic, and share a few words of encouragement also, just to encourage. If you live in the diaspora, this is about encouraging people in Zimbabwe that are going to be out tomorrow, that are out today, because their lives are at risk. And the least we can do is to encourage them on and to be thinking about them, because they are the ones that are on the ground, and they are the ones that are experiencing all of this brutality. So I'll just pause there for a minute. And then when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the specific ask for Tsholotsho, and I'll start calling on people to make pledges, if possible. Okay, so no one has put their hand up or asked for the mic. So I'm just going to talk about the twinning program that's happening for London branch. And so every branch within the UK and Ireland have been twinned with by-elections candidates. And the twinning program is to support the candidates with all of their needs for running their campaigns. And some of those are buying T-shirts, printing flyers, money for fuel, money for transport, to get to where they need to get to. And also that includes the register to vote campaign, because people are still registering to vote. And there are a lot of challenges around registrations to vote, in the sense that some people don't have birth certificates, and so if you don't have a birth certificate, you can't get an ID, and so therefore you cannot register to vote. So the candidates will be helping with all of that, and everything that they need to do in order to campaign in their areas. And what we are asking for today is to support, raise some of that money. So the initial funds that the Tsholotsho candidate needs is US 1,000. We already have nearly $350 that's been donated so far, and that is going to go towards whatever it is that they need, their initial needs. And so if there are people on here that would like to pledge anything towards that, we would really appreciate it. If you could ask for the mic, that would be appreciated. So while I wait for people to think, I'm just going to go back and replay one of the songs while we wait. So I'll play that for a minute or so.
Our chairman, Honorable Elijah Chapter, these photos are organizing secretary. Look, Harry, our SG, Tindo Moyo, Akam Tikori, Sakatibuti, Tomirana Tamiko, Isubati Garo, Tisuti Jamito, Kanatamuita, Bana Jamito, Tijamita, Vetema Jamito, Mashita Kuma Kumoku, Yakutonga Faro, Kaveri, Kutonga Naro. Chairwoman Selina Zuboni, Liverpool Organizing Secretary, Chennai Makamure, all Zimbabweans in foreign lands, and a registered voter.
Okay, we seem to be having a lot of problems. So we've got Jabulani. Did you want to go ahead, Jabulani? While I try to get other people who can't get in. Do you want to go ahead? Thank you. Hi, Jabulani. Can you unmute yourself and speak?
Good evening, citizens.
Hi.
Yes, my name is Jabulani Hadebe, the Citizens Deputy Provincial Chairperson for Matebele and North Province. And I'm the leader in charge of the Tsholotsho South campaigns. I just wanted to give you a brief background of Tsholotsho South. Tsholotsho South is located in Matebele North and has got 12 wards and 67 polling stations. That translates to 67 branches. I will just give you a brief rundown of our results for the previous election, that is from 2013 to 2018. The constituency itself is very winnable. In 2013, our results as MDCT in 2018, we got 5,525 against ZANU-PF, which got 4,436. So, of course, that was a difference of about 1,100 votes. Then in 2018, of course, we performed dismally because of the split between ourselves as MDC Alliance and MDCT, which was led by Thokozani Kope. In 2018, ZANU-PF got 7,751 and we got 2,608. But when you add our opposition tally, we're going to thump ZANU-PF by, say, about 700 votes. But however, for this by-election, there is no MDCT. It's only the Citizens Convergence, Citizens Coalition for Change against ZANU-PF. Though, of course, there are two other smaller parties, ZAPU and the independent candidate. Like I said, the constituency is very winnable. Of the 67 branches that we have in Tsholotsho South, we have managed to cover about 40 branches and 27 are still remaining. But the challenge that we have is in each and every ward, we have got, say, 4 to 5 branches. And the distance from one branch to the other or from one polling station to the other is about 15 to about 20 kilometers. So for our candidate to cover about 80 kilometers in one ward, and with the campaign team, we request about 50 to 60 liters of fuel per day. So of course we sent a budget to the London branch and requested, I think, about 1,200 liters for the whole campaign. And for the 67 branches that we have, we have what we call polling station based branches. For us to have effective meetings, kitchen meetings or branch rallies, we request a quote for every branch meeting or every branch rally or branch activity, translating to about 67 goats for us to have an effective campaign against ZANU-PF. Remember, ZANU-PF is using state resources. As I speak, they've got a vehicle in every ward. That translates to about 12 vehicles that they are using in each and every ward. Then at the same time, they're also using state resources, like they're using ZINWA, Zimbabwe National Water Authority, and DDF to lure people, promising them that they will dig some balls here and there. In some words, they've already done that. So we are begging against a party which is using state resources. And they are also distributing fertilizers. They are also slaughtering cows here and there. So, but our party were operating in zero budget. Our candidate never received anything from the party. Myself or the province never received any cent from the party. So we're requesting for support from the London branch. So that's all I can say for now.
Thank you so much. And you know what? It feels very tough just listening to you, sir, when you talk about the fact that the regime are using our funds, isn't it? They're using money that has come from the people, so the taxes and you know, to buy the vehicles and in a way which is corrupt, because they shouldn't be using that money to fund their campaigns, but they are doing it. So we need to do something to support yourselves. And unfortunately, oh, here she comes. She's here now. So I'm so delighted that we've got the chair of London branch. She's managed to get in. Can you accept the mic, please? Leader Rose, I've just sent you the mic now. So we were struggling a little bit to get her on. It's been a tough one. But yes, it's just listening to you. It just, we need to do more. So for us who are based in the diaspora, we need to do more to support the cause. And if I can get Rose to come up, if she can accept the host or the speaker, that would be good. So I've just sent that to you, Rose, if you can accept it. So she's still not able to pick it up, I don't think. Yeah. So we'll see. But anyhow, that doesn't really matter, because I think what we might need to do is to reconvene so that all the speakers can be here, because everybody is struggling to come onto the platform. So you've come in from Zimbabwe, from Bulawayo, so well done. The people who are here in London and in the UK can't come onto the platform. So that's a bit hard. And now, just going back to what you said, so you talked about the fact that you'd covered 40 branches and that you still had 27 branches. So is this part of the campaigning? So you talked about wanting fuel. What else would help you? If you can tell the people what else would help you other than the fuel.
Okay. We are on our top priorities, fuel, then followed by flyers. For our party visibility, we need flyers, about 20,000 to about 40,000 flyers. And the person who is already doing it for other candidates is saying he needs about $250 for the flyers. So once we get the flyers, I think we are warm and dry. Then we also need T-shirts for our campaign teams. And for a start, if we can have about 500 campaign T-shirts, I think that would be very fine. Then there is also somebody who does some, what they call them pin button pages, some round pages that we can actually give to quite a number of our supporters or even our members. They go for $1 each. And then the T-shirts, somebody who is doing them in Malawi or the cheapest is doing it for $6 per T-shirt. So we need about 500 campaign T-shirts, then we are warm and dry. Then 20,000 flyers and a quote for every branch rally, times 67 branches that we have in Tsholotsho South.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
The quote goes for about $40 or 600 rands in Tsholotsho. $40 or 600 rands.
Okay, thank you so much for that. What about the violence? So what we have seen so far in Harare mainly is that it's been violent already. We saw the police already beating up people, and you know, some of the CC members who are part of Change Radio have been assaulted in their home. What can you tell us about, you know, issues around violence?
Actually, I actually saw about this violence via social media that is actually happening in some other areas. But in Tsholotsho, of course, we haven't seen any incidents of violence as of late.
Okay, and what else would you like to tell the people before we close? Because I can't see any of the speakers cannot come on. All of them are just failing to access the platform.
What I can say is I'm encouraging each and every member of our citizens movement in the diaspora to actually call whoever is living in the villages right there in Tsholotsho South to encourage them to vote for the citizens movement so that we can remove this oppressive regime. Ngapha of course emhlubulweni wemandebeleni manje kuthiwa ngaphinde akhe emkomana ngapha sithi kangene ujaha kangene. So 2022 kangene uThapson Nganunu kangene. Hayi siyabamema sibili abantu bakithi ukuthi babuye ngobunengi babo bavotele ubaba uThapson Nganunu Sibanda angene eParliament ngebandla lethu iCitizens Coalition for Change elilombala omuhle oyiyellow okhombisa ukuthi the future is very bright. Hayi siyabanxusa abantu bakithi libuye ngobunengi benu. Labo abalesifiso njalo sokusekela uThapson Nganunu Sibanda likhululekile ukuthi lingafonela uDeputy Provincial Chairperson weMatabeleland North uJabulani Khadebe kunamba lezi engizazibiza 0772 641 861 0772 641 861. We're encouraging our people to come in their large numbers from the diaspora, especially those in South Africa, to come and support Thapson Nganunu Sibanda. They already know, especially our diaspora, that we have got poor roads in Tsholotsho. We have got fewer schools. Abantwana they walk long distances besiya esikolo. We have got no medication ezibhedlela. Njalo silabo mongikazi labo dokotela abangaphiwa imali eyeneleyo nguhulumende. So kunzima ebantwini bakithi nxa besiya esibhedlela. Instead of ukuthi bayethola ukusila esibhedlela, isibhedlela sesiyindlela sokuthi ibaqondise straight emangcwabeni. Indawo yakithi ayila mgwaqo, imigwaqo ekhona yena leyani ayivela ikhona from kudala eyachiwa nguIan Smith. Khathesi kwezinye indawo ubona vele umgwaqo usukhumuzekile lokuthi lebhayisikili alikwanisi ukuhamba in a straight line. Waqala kuyi-cycle track but khathesi vele hayi lebhayisikili alisayenelisi ukuhamba khona lapho. Akula mgwaqo, akula zibhedlela. Ndawo yakithi kuyasweleka amadamu, akula madamu ukuthi uyathola ukuthi inyamazana inkomo imbuzi zithwele nzima iyahamba uma ngomude isiyanatha amanzi nxa iphenduka ekhaya iyabe vele isiwomile sokuvele mele ibuyele. So izifuyo lazo azithola ukuphila okugcweleyo labantu nje bathwele nzima bathwele gadalala. So siyakhuthaza nje uzulu wonke ukuthi ahambe ayevotela uThapson Nganunu Sibanda under ibandla leCitizens Coalition for Change elikhokhelwa lijaha elincane Advocate Pastor Nelson Chamisa.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. I just wondered, I don't want to close this if there are anyone who's got a question for our guest who's speaking to us about the candidate for Tsholotsho. So London branch, which is one of the biggest branches in London, have been twinned with Tsholotsho and they are raising money to support the candidate. And we've just been hearing him tell us about some of the needs for Tsholotsho to make that campaign successful. We are up against a regime that has money, that have vehicles, that have the law in their favor, and we have the people. And so it's so important because, to understand power, in that whilst they might use a different form of power, which is money, which is maybe the army and the police, the people stand with the Citizens Coalition for Change. And it is to the people that we come to ask the people to support the movement. So we need everybody to come in and support. So if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask our guest before we close, please feel free to request the mic. As we've not been able to get any of the other speakers on the platform, they've just not been able to do that.
We definitely need everyone to come in to support izikolo zezwane. You remember ukuthi Tsholotsho district is the only district in Zimbabwe which has got a nickname called Zwane. And the people who come from Tsholotsho are called izikolo zezwane. So we're encouraging izikolo zezwane all over the world to come and support our Tsholotsho South candidate, Thapson Nganunu Sibanda. Thapson Nganunu Sibanda has been with our movement since its formation in 1999. He was the district secretary for Tsholotsho since 1999 up to around 2007. Then in 2019 Congress, he was elected as the Deputy Provincial Secretary for Matabeleland North Province. He is the current headmaster of Mbali Valley Secondary School. He was also the Secretary General, National Secretary General for the Zimbabwe Teachers Association, ZIMTA, up to 2019. From 2013 up to 2019, he was the National Secretary General for ZIMTA, Zimbabwe Teachers Association. He has got a very rich profile. That's Thapson Nganunu Sibanda for MP Tsholotsho South.
Thank you so much for that. I think that the people on here have heard some of the challenges and some of the ways in which we can help. And I think what we are going to do is we are going to end the space, as we can't get any of the speakers. I can see them, but we can't bring them onto the platform for whatever reason. So what we'll do is we'll reconvene and we'll ask you to come back. And when you do come back, we would like you to come with a candidate, because I think that will be very helpful to the people if they can hear from the candidate, because we've had other spaces where candidates have come and spoken to the people, particularly those in the diaspora, to enable them to understand issues from the horse's mouth, and then to be able to support. So I want to say thank you so much for having joined us, Leader Jabulani. We wish you well, and we'll be in contact with you offline to see how we can send over the money that's already been collected so far. So we want to say thank you to all of those that have donated so far, and to all of those that are pledging money and sending messages to our DM offering support. So thank you so much. I'm just going to close out with a song.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our dear viewers and listeners, this particular spaces has ended, but there's another space which is being hosted by Hopewell Chimono, which is titled Uncollected Rubbish is a Health Hazard. Who is sleeping on the job? So we are just going to move over to that other space. So please do stay tuned.
The collection of the organic waste, and then a for-profit that we run in terms of processing it from a chemistry perspective. But this is an example that I'm giving of how citizens can actually come in and then solve part of this problem. I know a lot of people would look at it as saying maybe that's taking burden off the council when the councils are supposed to be doing it, or taking burden away from the government when the government is supposed to be doing it. Yes, if you look at it from a short-sighted perspective, yes, it might seem that you're just aiding them and giving them, and taking their responsibility away from it. But if you look at it holistically, I think you're just saving your own people, because at the end of the day, the country that's going to suffer from such waste is our country. The people that are going to have these negative health impact, that are going to feel the negative health impact, are our people. So we actually also have to play a role, while at least we're also applying pressure on the relevant authorities. I think we have let them loose for too long. For now, I think I'll just say that, host, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tadini, for your contribution. you've mentioned that we're, as citizens, we actually need to do more. We have been sleeping on the job. So there's a challenge to us all. We've been sleeping on the job. Those of us who are capable, we need to actually do more. And he's also mentioned that we need to put pressure on the right authorities to get some of these issues resolved. Mapipi, would you like to come into the conversation? Thank you.
Thank you so much, host, for hosting this space. I just wanted to say thank you to Mayor for articulating how ZANU-PF is throwing in the spanners in the works into the council. I've got. I just wanted to clearly understand. Why exactly is ZANU-PF doing this? Are they doing it because they want to punish the electorate for voting for the opposition in urban areas? I was listening to one video which I listened to from one South African leader, I think, who said, ZANU-PF is actually a rural party, because very few urban areas would vote for ZANU-PF. Do you then think that they are trying to turn the urban cities into rural areas so that at least people would vote for them? Or what exactly are they trying? And the other question I wanted to ask you is, what is the end game? We have got a problem here where ZANU-PF are putting the spanners into the works, and councils are not functioning properly. And the way I look at it, this is going to continue and continue and continue. What exactly can be done to ensure that the councils are fully functional and their their service delivery is not being hampered by ZANU-PF? Elections are coming up next year. Are we going to see another situation where ZANU-PF will win the MPs, and then the councils, the urban councils, are won again by the opposition, and the problem will continue and continue and continue? What is the opposition doing to ensure that, okay, is there an end game somewhere where we say, okay, we have accepted there's a problem that the minister for local government, the minister for local government is intervening in whatever the councils are trying to do. Okay. And the last question I want to ask the mayor: have the councils tried to source for funding from outside, from other big cities, other councils outside the country, to ensure that they can fund their operations? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your question. I think the mayor is trying to reconnect. We had lost him as a speaker, and he's trying to reconnect. Yes. Please go ahead, Mayor.
Let me try to get the questions. People keep calling because of these preparations for tomorrow. If I got the questions right, is that have we tried other source of funding? That was the question? Hello?
Yes. That was one of the questions.
One of the questions.
Do you want me to repeat the other questions?
Just summarize the questions.
The first question was, do you think ZANU-PF, someone is microphone, can you mute? So that there's no feedback. Mayor, can you mute? Yeah, thank you. The first question was, why do you think ZANU-PF are doing that? Are they doing this to punish the urban voters, trying to ensure that they get punished for voting the opposition into councils? And secondly, what is going to be the end game for this? Because we've got elections coming. Probably this situation will come back again where the ZANU-PF will win again the members of parliament and the councils that are won by the opposition. And this problem will continue and continue until I don't know when. What's the end game? Where do you see yourselves in about 10 years or 5 years time? How are you going to address this issue? That's the question.
Okay, remember, ZANU-PF began wanting a one-party state. The fundamental ideology and inclination of the current leadership of ZANU-PF is a one-party state mentality. And at one point, they wanted to enact a one-party state, and they lost because Tekere fought against it. And their ideology has always been a planning from the center going downwards. So their instinct is not to see value in diversity. They believe in sloganeering, doing one thing at a time, getting a central command and a command structure, militaristic kind of attitude. So they don't have the inclination towards being able to operate with an opposition or different centers of thoughts or various centers of power. And remember, even in their own party, at one point, they kept parroting one center of power, one center of power. So devolution. And the solution that we tried to do this was to introduce a new constitution that had devolved powers, that ingrained devolution for provinces, so that provinces can set their priorities, so that provinces can benefit from the wealth of their provinces. So if you look at the anomaly, because we pretend that we are one nation, Manicaland got diamonds, right? What did it build with the diamonds? Nothing. There's only one Chinese hotel in Manicaland, but it had the biggest find of diamonds ever this century. It has nothing. It does not even know where the money is going. One of the chiefs who was named after the diamond field, the whole country watched the Tsholotsho were being arrested for picking diamonds. Everyone said it's a crime. But all the diamonds came and were taken by people from other provinces, and they were never arrested. It's not a crime. But the person who is named after the diamond fields is criminalized to have diamonds. Look at Wange. Villages under Wange, electricity has been moving from Wange for years and years and powered the whole nation. Villages under those lights do not have electricity at all. So there is a lack of understanding of devolution. A lot of businesses, you can go province by province. Some provinces have gold, they have nothing. Some provinces have got this, they have nothing. Cities and cities, even the roads, they took them. What I was saying, so once we need to have a soul searching as a country as to how we want to manage our resources, how we allocate the benefits that we get from the resources. If we don't do that, we will always have the mismatch of the kind that I'm talking about. What is the solution? Implement devolution. People must make priorities where they are, and they will be able to decide what they need and get the central government to decide how much it takes, and it must be regulated. You cannot get other funding elsewhere without the permission of central government. Central government has to agree. So if you want to get even internal domestic loan, you have to get the approval of the Minister of Local Government and ultimately the Minister of Finance and the government. That is not a problem if they were mature enough to allow it. But now we have where the winner is supposed to be supervised by the loser. Now, what will the loser do if the winner succeeds? The loser who is supervising will never win in that area. So there is a conflict of interest whereby the minister of local government coming from the losing party has got an interest in your failure. His party's best interests are served by you failing. So if we don't deal with that and allow for legislative safeguards to protect the winners from the loser, then we have a challenge, and we will always have a challenge in our local government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for your contribution. Jessica, would you like to come in and say something? I understand you're about to leave.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I think in probably less than a minute, I just do hope that in the future, we make sure, in as much as we have people that say we hope that the opposition does not keep being elected into these positions which run our cities. I also hope that, or also feel that, we should also elect a government that actually cares, for that has people in their best interest, right? And like I always say, sometimes it's very important for people to give comparisons, right? So if we have certain councils, that are run, for instance, by the ruling party, or by LEAD, or by AP, or by whomever, then when you come and criticize, you must then say, look, we have state-of-the-art services in Berengwa. We have done state-of-the-art services, Kulanga Mvura. Please come and see the state-of-art clinics in Weza, So I think it's always important that we come together and also not have a mindset of thinking that only when it's opposition, it's wrong, right? And only within the ruling party, because this is where we then say, let's not politicize this. The most important factors in the equation are people. Ultimately, what we need is service delivery. So thank you so much. But I do hope that while people, try to say, oh, the city of Harare is not doing A, B, C, D, E, they also then bring comparisons to then say, look, like where we are voted in Shurugwi, we have the sewer system there is amazing. It's a state of art. Even it has never been seen in Zimbabwe. So let's not have this whole thing that we only blame one. And like I said initially, when it comes to service delivery for the municipality, they're not the only, or city of Harare, they're not the only people that are affected by inflation, right? It's the entire country. So let's not say when it's service delivery for the government, inflation is not applicable, but it's only applicable when it's now city of Harare. So yeah, I think that is what I would want to say in closing. So I think it's very important to keep engaging. Thank you, Mayor, for also coming through. But I have to go now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for your contribution. And coming back to what the mayor said before, that we need to manage our resources well. And I think, that's a fact that we need to manage our resources well. On paper, we've got all the mineral resources that we need to be able to look after all the things that, all the infrastructures, in the country. But that is not happening. And I think to go back to what Tadini was saying, that as citizens, we actually need to be able to do more. We need to be able to hold the people, who are running whatever institutions to account. If we as citizens are not holding people to account, then we get these kind of failures. So obviously, a change in our culture is needed, where we also, take a role, an active role in everything that is happening. We'll move on to Hillary. Would you like to take the mic? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting the space, and thank you, Mayor, for coming. Well, I want to interrogate the mayor a little bit further because I've been listening to his contributions, and I'm still left with more questions than answers. Because what I'm hearing is more of what ZANU-PF is doing and or is failing or is impeding the parties that are running these local authorities from doing their work well. So the first question is, what strategy is there to rethink around these impediments? Because we've been having these excuses and these impediments. We know what ZANU-PF is going to do, but what strategies are in place so that
Why should
3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, we still don't have the same story to say local government has done X, Y, Z? How are these elected officials re-strategizing or reinventing themselves against all these impediments? That's number one. Number two, he spoke about littering penalties. From his response, it's as if he is saying that we need to put in place littering penalties. Are you telling me that we don't have a bylaw against littering right now? Is it a question of putting in place these bylaws, or it is a question of policing them and making sure that people know that if you throw litter around Harare, you pay fine XYZ, just as much as people are being fined for parking and are being claimed? I think we need to police littering more than just saying there is need to put a law. A law is there, but is it being followed to the letter? And then I'd also want to take him back to the issue around litigation, because in his response he said that the citizens are supposed to litigate, but we've elected these officials to represent us. So at the end of the day, I would want to get cases where City of Harare has taken the local government to court because the local government has not followed devolution to the letter, or because the local government has done XYZ. These are the things that I, as a voter, would want to hear. What are the cases? What are the examples that we have of City of Harare taking the local government to court to say, look, you failed to do A, B, C, D, or you stopped us, or you hindered us from doing A, B, C, D? Because if you say the citizens are supposed to litigate, then at the end of the day, my question is, why did we vote for representation? You are representing the citizens in those offices. So to throw the curveball back to the citizens and say, no, citizens are supposed to litigate, for me, that doesn't work. These are some of the issues I would want the mayor to address and give us tangible strategies and tangible workarounds around these impediments. They've been there for decades now. We know that the local government is going to stand in the way, but how are we reinventing ourselves against those impediments? Thank you.
Okay, I'll be brief because I have another election-related space that I have to go to now. So I'll be 1 minute. Look, one of the things that we have to do in Zimbabwe is that we've got a problem of always trying to make a plan on things that don't work. And that's why we are here in the problem that we have. A Zimbabwean always has a plan. Instead of acting like other countries and other cities, like other citizens. In South Africa, if you are doing rubbish, they tell you there and then that what you are doing doesn't work, stop it. In Zimbabwe, we overthink and we Todarika answer. It doesn't work, period. If you take roads from the city council, no matter how many plans I can come up with, everywhere in the world, road licensing is done by the city council. We can't reinvent the wheel. There's nothing I can do. There's no plan that I can come up with except to tell you to return back the roads to the city councils. Period. We build our roads. If you take water, if you take things, if you take revenue, we cannot relearn things that have been done for years by many other municipalities. If a big city is managed by an executive mayor, that's what we have to do, not to try and force people to make a plan on things that don't work. So I disagree with the notion that we should always make a plan. Sometimes the plan is to tell people, enough is enough. Let's do what is best international practice, and we move on. We reserve our plans to things that are unique and peculiar, rather than to make a plan on things that are obvious. If you are supposed to leave the city with the responsibility, the plan is to force you to leave the city with the responsibilities. Yes, as the city of Harare, we can sue the minister, but the minister determines what we can do. As the residents and as political parties, we have indeed sued. That's why I was saying that they are court actions. Maybe we need to increase them or make them a bit more visible. But I'm sorry, I have to go now, or I had made a prior commitment. I was just invited into this space because there were certain answers that needed, certain questions that needed to be answered, or certain answers that needed to be given. So thank you very much for inviting me. I will be available next time to deal with any issues that might arise.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for coming along to this space. Yes, the mayor will be leaving now, but we can continue the conversation to those who would still like to continue the conversation. The next person is Can Do. Would you like to take the mic? Can Do.
Yes, thank you, the host, and thank you, the mayor, for giving us an oversight of what is currently happening. What I can second what the mayor was saying and how are the councils run. The councils run directly from the Ministry of Local Government. And if the budget, which is set by the Ministry of Local Government, is not dispersed to local authorities, then the local authorities will find it very, very difficult to achieve their goal. As well as, I think the mayor said, he talked about a loser-winner situation where the loser supervises the winner. It's a very, very strong statement. My council, where I come from, the local government, like in the area I come from, Mutare, I can see that, you know what I mean, whatever was there in 1981, I can still go exactly the same place in 2022 and still find the same thing still there, which was there in 1981. So things didn't change because our leader is still the same. So what I can encourage you, for the local government to perform well, we need to change the way we do things. We need to change the, you know what I mean, the people who lead us. We need to go and vote, and because that's where the decisions are made. So if we are to say, okay, the local government or the opposition, they need to take bills which are associated with the local authorities as well. But if you are a minority in parliament, sometimes you don't change those situations. You don't change what the local government can do. And the thing is that the local government, sometimes it's about selfishness as well. You know, when a country is being run or being ruled on a selfishness basis, that because you are opposition, because you want the towns, so we're going to make the people in the town suffer. We want the rural areas. The rural areas don't complain. There's nothing which is happening in the rural areas. It's a situation which we face. We are not yet emancipated. We are not yet independent. We are not yet free. We are still colonized mentally. We've got that aspect of selfishness in ourselves, in our leaders. Amadalas who are leading us at the moment, they are very, very selfish. They still hold on to the things which happened in 1972. They went to the war. They fought for us, their kids, to be able to survive now. But they're still trying to make us suffer. When I'm in Mbare, I'm suffering because, you know what I mean, the sewage is just down the road and everything is just coming down. You know some of those things. But otherwise, I support the mayor. They don't have the money. They don't have the budget. They don't have the trucks to collect the rubbish. So it's not their problem. It's that they don't have the budget, which should be coming from the local government, from the Ministry of Local Government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Can Do, for your contribution. Peter, would you like to go ahead and speak?
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you so much, the host and the listeners who are here. I also thank you for the topic you brought. It is actually a good topic that affects one of us in one way or the other. I heard someone asking the mayor what we are supposed to do or what the council is supposed to do. Yeah, there is actually a very long answer to that. When we are going into elections, general elections, we have got a councillor, we have got an MP, then we have got a president. Normally, when we are campaigning, we say for the president, vote this. For the MP, vote this. For the councillor, vote this. We would be doing it so that when we win, we win everything. So that we will be responsible for the government. We don't enter into an election giving an option of losing. So now, when we have an MP and when we have a councillor under the ZANU-PF government, it is very difficult to deliver. I don't want to be to only be strict on the issues of councillors. Let me put it aside, and I'll come back to it. We have got MPs. Look at the amount they are given as the CDF. It's just nothing, and you have got the whole constituency where you're supposed to develop, maybe painting schools, doing a lot of things that you're expected to do. But the monies that are given by the MPs, it's just by the government to the MPs, it's just nothing. It is just nothing. I want to give you an example of what happened in Zambia. The previous government of Edgar Lungu was giving MPs CDF that was around 90,000. Equivalent to 90,000 years. But the government of President Hakainde Hichilema is now giving about 1.5 million. So imagine if the change of government would help us in a similar way to give like 1.5 million US to each and every constituency. How much of the development were we going to see in each constituency? Now, coming back to the issue of council, if we could have a change of government, how much more could we get for the service delivery if we had a government led by a president, Advocate Nelson Chamisa? Now that we are under a government which is a competitor, is unfair. They will not be happy, of course, to see the council's delivery. For them, it is making a lot of sense if they see, if they contribute, or if they do not give funds to the council so that they perform. For them, it works because they will go out there with their propaganda and say, now see the CCC councillors are failing. You see, so it happens that way. Now, while we still believe that something must be done, despite the fact that there is ZANU-PF on top, something must be done. How do you do it? Now, it means the councillors and all the people are involved around have to go now to the community or to the donors to ask for some donation. But it is not obvious that whenever you go to the community or whenever you go to the donor, you get something. That will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. There is also some issue I'm failing to find the correct term to use. When the government was trying to do the cleanup campaign, You could see what was happening. They were stopping him. They didn't want him to do the clean out campaign because they want the debt to be there. If it is there, it gives them another striking advantage to say, now the debt is there and they are failing to bring it. So the debt is waiting for the advantage of that. But still, how can we go back to the same people? Because looking at the situation in Zimbabwe, everyone is failing to afford. Everyone is struggling. Then it means we'll come back to the same citizens and say, we were looking for fuel, we are looking for a car to hire to carry the baggage, the garbage. So we are actually taking the burden of the government, a government which is not giving, which is underfunding the council. We have got a very, very, very big duty as citizens or as the office bearers, especially in the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I think next we're going to have Professor. Prof, you can speak now.
Thank you very much, host and co-host, for the opportunity. I wanted to talk to the mayor. Unfortunately, he's gone, but I hope you are recorded, so I hope it will get to him. I am very concerned about particularly City of Harare because the filth is unbelievable. The potholes, when I drive my car, I feel like I'm swimming. I have to go left, right, and center to try and navigate. For example, the Lomagundi Road or the road where you are coming via St. Giles, going back to the main road. It's unbelievable. It's below standard. The MDC was voted in more than 20 years ago and promised us that they were going to give us good governance of the cities. They have not done that, unfortunately. And there's no amount of blaming the other we can do here. They must take responsibility, because when they do not take responsibility, there's no hope. Excuse me just for a second. There's no hope at all, because it looks like rather than focusing on their work, they are focusing on the other. Here is what they could do. They are getting some money at some point. They must do something. Then we can see what they could do given the money they were given. Then they can tell us we couldn't do this ABC because we didn't have enough money. They must give us a budget. How did they use the money they were given? Because eventually the central government gives them money. So they must at least demonstrate some things done so we can see them in one way or another. One point I put down, people pay rates. I've paid my rates all the time. So they can do other things like fundraising. We must see their fundraising efforts. There are many people with houses in Harare who are in diaspora. They can raise funds and say, listen, we want to deal with the garbage. Can we do fundraising for that? I can tell you that people from diaspora will probably do that. Remember, all the praise will go to the MDC or CC, whatever will be there, because they are the ones in charge. So if they can do that, I would be very happy. We want to see those efforts. I was talking about fundraising. Somebody was calling me. I hope you can still see me. There is, in terms of hygiene is under the City of Harare. I used to work with the City of Harare myself. The City of Harare gets funding also from government, some of it from the council, because they collect a little money at the clinics, not a lot of money, but some form of money. And why are they not teaching the public? Because one of the things when I was working in the city of Harare is we do health education every morning. The people are not getting responsible anymore. They are littering everywhere. Those health education things, what happened to them? What has happened to them? That is my question. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was, I know that the government has promised to look after the roads, to help with the potholes. I also know that the government has promised to pay the nurses and other health workers in the city of Harare. So I'm thinking, if the government is doing that, what exactly is the council doing? Maybe we should think about no longer having councils, maybe changing the act so that the whole thing is under technocrats. Because remember, the cities are the entry points that bring the economy of our country. Investors will not be interested if they drive to Mavuku or they drive to Kwazana and they see that heap and heap of things. Then lo and behold, we have typhoid, we have cholera, and so on and so forth. We cannot be blaming. We should be doing something about this thing. We have to work together as Zimbabweans, those in the country, in diaspora, and solve this issue. We want economic independence of our country, but we can only get it if we get more people investing in the country. But the look of city of Harare, for example, is sad. The look of Bulawayo, fortunately, is a little bit better, but I hope it can be maintained and even be better than where it is. Thank you, host and co-host.
Thank you, Professor. I just wanted to bring you to attention, like when we talk of supervision as in regards to the Constitution, supervision is argued in paragraph 2.6 is a reflection of the fact that albeit endowed with local autonomy, a local authority is not a sovereign entity and is part of the overall state machinery. Thus, the supervision of local government through regulation, monitoring, support, and intervention is necessary component of the decentralization regime. The supervision of local authorities is necessary in order to combat corruption and minimize the wastage of resources. The Constitution requires the Parliament to supervise the public debt finances and the use of borrowing powers by all government, including local authorities. So what is your response in regards to that clause, Professor?
I have invited Comrade Nduna to come here. I think he's late in coming because he deals with that portfolio in Parliament. And they are going through people who have stolen some of the money and so on and so forth. He talks about that very well. Regardless, you know, I'm a manager myself. What are the people on the ground doing? So the question you may want to ask is, do we really need voting for councillors anymore? Or is it just going to be like a government entity? Or we should give it to technocrats? Do we need to change the acts even in Parliament about this? Because honestly, Marvin, it's not working. It's not working. So should we change the municipal acts? Should we change the acts?
Professor, right, citizen, just hold on.
Hello, please can you,
finish.
if you're not speaking, please can you mute your mic? Please let's be respectful on this space. Please only speak if you've been given the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, host and co-host. So I know there are those, things you are talking about in the Constitution and so on. And a lot of it depends on how you interpret them. And also, without further ado, Is this working? That's the question we must ask ourselves. And now think about solutions. And that's why I am proposing maybe this should be under technocrats rather than the municipal acts. Maybe we should abolish them because it's not working. Even if you ask anyone, I am in Zimbabwe often, heaps and heaps, particularly if you go to high density areas. And it's not fair for residents in those areas. I live in Mount Pleasant myself. At one point, we were burning things where they heap like this because no one was carrying the garbage. So I'm concerned about these things. Particularly, I'm a health person now myself. I'm a professor of public health. So when I see the situation with the hygiene of the environment, I worry about diseases that can arise. And so rather than we thinking about this, about acts of parliament, I think we must think about interventions. That is my stand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Shingi, for your contribution. And one of the things that you've mentioned is that you want to see what the councils are actually doing on the ground, and you would also like them at least to fundraise, to raise some of the money that is needed. Thank you very much, Fortune Chasi, for joining us. You have the floor. Please take the mic. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I must apologize for coming late. I had a commitment that I couldn't dispose of in time. I came in, I think, when Mr. Johnny was speaking, and I must say that it's very easy for us to hide behind politics. I, like Prof, I stay in Mount Pleasant, and I use the road from town just close to Belgravia. There's a portion that for months was unusable. Council eventually came, and it looks like Tara. That place is a very good example of incompetence, and we should never ever tolerate the type of work that was done there. Now, less than 100 meters from there, they came and dug up the place, and they did not put barriers to warn members of the public. And a car fell into a big trench that council employees created. Now, after that accident, they suddenly had the resources to come and cover up the trench. If you go there now, if the issue is resources, where did they suddenly get the resources to now come and go for sure trench? I hope the person whose car fell in there was not, seriously injured. It was a very bad accident. So it's very easy for us to go political and blame here and there. I'm not saying there is no politics, but it's very clear that there are certain issues which are within the power of council to deal with, which are not complex at all. Let me go further down that road, get into Upper East, where Upper East meets Cheshire. For 4 full weeks, 4 weeks, all you need is a plumber. I could even do it myself. Just tell me, could join it on my pipe? With the treated water, very, very clean water. It's gushing out every day. And the council offices, how far away are they from this thing that I'm talking about? less than 100 meters. And I'm very sure that the staff who work at the council offices are driving past that every day. So let's not hide mediocrity behind politics. There are things, go to Avenue. I mean, it's even right outside my own gate. For almost a month now, our bins are outside. No collection, nobody speaks to you about it. As it is tomorrow, I've arranged for somebody to come and get the rubbish so that it will not carry us somewhere far away from our residents. So there are issues that need huge resources, but at the forefront of the incompetence of council that we are seeing every day, all of us are seeing these things, is the fact that there is hardly any management. I mean, the person who dug out the trench, which nearly, I don't even know if the person is alive or what sort of injuries they sustained. Is that person being brought into not to account? The manager responsible for those people, is that person being brought to account? The short work that was done just outside the Rugby Sports Club, is somebody being brought to account? I mean, you go there, rush hour, people can hardly move. And it's a risk to the public. So my point really is, I heard the Zambian example. I don't think that MPs, because I am one, should be at the forefront of development. MPs just deal with peripheral matters. And if we want to invite problems, just raise the 20,000 US dollars that the MP is getting to the 1.5 million that the speaker I mentioned was making reference to. A change in government, even if it happened next week, will not translate into an overabundance of money that is managed by people who do not manage their staff, who do not supervise their staff, who do not carry out inspections around residential or industrial areas. I mean, go to 5 Avenue, near Avenue's clinic. The amount of garbage that is there is shocking. The environmental damage that is happening in terms of pollution, air pollution, and just, the sight of it, it's unbelievable. But what are the areas of strength of council? Kusunga motor is parked properly. What are the fines? Many people are crying. They come, they take your car, you pay, I don't know, $200 and something, which is more than the salary of some professionals. Then they say you come and pay for storage of those vehicles. But for health, it doesn't seem to be an issue. My dangers posed to the public, it doesn't seem to be an issue. I think our obsession with a change in government is wrong. It's people's democratic right to vote whoever they want to get into government, but to pretend that once the government is moved and another one comes in, you will have $1 million. I think really is not being honest. Council needs to be very, very accountable to its citizens. And it's said that my brother, the mayor, is not here. He is my councillor here. The issues I'm talking about are not academic issues. We really have to ratchet up without reference to political affiliation. I mean, rubbish is rubbish. Whether one is CCC, MDC, or ZANU-PF, rubbish is rubbish. It must be collected. What is being lost without regard to the cost of cleaning that water, or we all pay for it and we suffer for it. So my suggestion really is, let's cast away this belief that by belonging to a particular party, you are ipso facto more efficient and better resourced. So that's really my passion. I'm sorry I came late. I might have missed, some of the issues that were raised. I'm talking about water, and there's a notice by the City Council which says that be advised that there shall be a total shutdown of motor and dairy control as from 21 February to 18 March as a result of shortage of water treatment chemicals. This is the same council that is not repairing water that is being lost. Go to Groombridge, water has been gushing out. Go to Tail 1 near 4th Street, it's water. These are examples I think all of us are aware. If indeed we do not have the resources of fixing this problem, but we are allowing this water to be lost every day. The council is encouraging us in the same notice to say residents must use water sparingly during this period and to find alternative water sources. What alternative water source do you have? So I think really the powers that be within our local authority need to be professional. They need to manage their staff. They need to, bear with us as residents. You can't tell me to find an alternative water. This is an official notice that is being publicized. And I think it's very, very sad. It just tells you the sort of attitude that council has got to its staff. It's well and good to complain about the lack of accountability of central government officials, but the same level of accountability is required at local authority levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fortune Chassis, for your contribution. I have two questions to ask. The first question, given that the rubbish situation is a potential health hazard for citizens, the ultimate protection of citizens, falls with the government. Why has the government not done anything to resolve this issue? Because if say, for instance, we've got cholera or typhoid or one of the many diseases that can come about as a result of, uncollected rubbish, it becomes a national crisis. So why isn't the government stepping in before we reach that point where there's that crisis to resolve this issue of the rubbish? And the second issue I wanted to bring forward, given the situation, what would you put forward as possible solutions to the situation that we're currently facing? Thank you.
My response to the question is, I obviously can't speak on behalf of the Minister of Local Government because I am not the minister. Neither am I representing central government. I'm actually speaking as a consumer of these goods and services that the local authority should give to us. I don't really know what happens between central government and local government, but the damage to public health that is posed by the current situation where garbage is not collected over lengthy periods just brings into sharp relief the question as to whether council itself is it worried or concerned about public health. And I think that the problem is not necessarily with the councillors, but council must put in place effective measures to supervise their staff. The mayor and the councillors must move around their respective areas and see. They can't manage from cars or offices. They've got to be on the ground so that they see what the residents are going through on a day-to-day basis. I think it's highly irresponsible to say, look for alternative sources of water, as a solution, and yet you're allowing water that has been treated with very expensive chemicals to be gushing out for weeks without anybody coming to inspect. So they need to be hands-on. They can't just sit in their chambers to deal with this particular issue. I've just lost myself in my emotive response. What was the second question again?
It was for the possible solution. What do you think is the possible solution to the rubbish situation?
I think we need responsible leadership. We need professionals, people that really, get into council to work for us with their hearts. And I don't really know what they're doing because, go to Mount Pleasant Clinic. This is a council premise. I was there yesterday. I was attracted by the fact that the place is overgrown with grass. It's not a massive place. I'm sure there's a ground person there who is responsible, but the level of neglect just gives you a very clear explanation as to why council areas are the way they are. Maybe 2.5 meters everywhere, things are just dilapidated. That's apart from saying that despite a notice which says they'll open at a certain time, 2 hours later, the doors are locked. It's only the gate that is open. So I don't know whether you need money to be doing that, to open your doors, to explain to people are outside, there's nobody to talk to. So whilst financial resources are critical, they definitely are necessary. But there are things which council does not need any meaningful amount of money to resolve. Just buying them, I don't think that's a central government intervention issue. So let's separate issues. If the working relations between local authorities and central government are a problem, let's dissect them and deal with each one by itself. Then separate issues of management and responsibility of managers and employees of council onto the other side. This is why I am saying it's very, very easy to hide behind politics, to hide behind issues of lack of resources when management is really the issue at hand. Council officials need to be hands-on and know that by not being hands-on, they are actually exacerbating the health issues in the country, which central government is delegated to them. They have the health department. The director of health, I really don't know whether he is aware of some of these things that we are talking about. The amount of rubbish within in the CBD area itself, the flats around. If you are staying in a flat, how do you come up with an alternative? Even if you are staying in a proper house, how would you come with an alternative source of water? You can't go and buy bottled water in order to bath. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fortune. APA Youth Agenda, would you like to come in there?
Thank you for that. There's about 4 things that I would just like to touch on, since people have made their contributions and listeners have come in and other speakers have come forward. Some of these things I may be echoing, but hopefully I'm not repeating. So number 1 that I would like to really impress is, as much as we can say, there isn't any imagination on the opposition account of solving issues and so forth, we've got to be clear about the context that we live in as Zimbabwe, which is we have a hybrid nature of authoritarianism, and it's called competitive authoritarianism, which combines elements of both democracy and authoritarianism. And it's abundant here because, we have elections, the playing field is usually uneven, there's control of aspects of the electorate and so forth, and schemes that can go on and all of that, which to the electorate then has this information gap where they're not necessarily aware of what's going on, which harks me back to my point that I was making earlier, that many people do not understand these fundamentals as to why the councils are like this and why Zimbabwe is like this. There are many, many, many aspects to how we have been socialized in this country that needs to be checked from the top, as other speakers had said before me. We need to do better as citizens in this checks and balances. We need to demand more, have higher standards for ourselves, and perhaps understand that it's our responsibility to be more ethical than the society around us. And I see that with what other people's contributions and submissions were, there's a lot of pushing the blame onto XYZ, when really it should be all our responsibility to be more ethical than what the society around us is dictating. And just to have that sense of active citizenry is extremely lacking in this country. We can maybe come up with many theories, political, societal, and whatever about why this is. Maybe it's because of the leadership. Leadership is supposed to inspire social change. It's supposed to inspire social new habits. It's supposed to inspire a maximization of things happening for the good of society. The leadership that has been there, whether you want to call it central government, whether you want to call it the ruling government or whatever, has it inspired this social transformation? Has it maximized on this? And maybe the opposition in councils have fallen prey to this attitude, which is coming from the top, of not being accountable to what's happening. In no way am I saying that what the opposition has been saying is wrong and that there is an interference from the central government and so forth. However, the lack of imagination that is not apparent in their structures is quite shocking. And as a former speaker had said, there are many things in our society that we can see that can definitely be fixed if there was sincere goodwill and perhaps notice of these problems. Not to mention constituencies that have been mentioned, but there's a burst pipe right now as we speak opposite NASA House. And it's in a public place opposite the National Art Gallery adjacent to the park. Burst pipe spilling across by the Christian Science Church, and no one has fixed it. Council has been told about this problem, and all they do is come up with excuses. There's a lack of imagination that is happening in the opposition, but that is not to understand the nuance of the competitive authoritarianism that is happening in Zimbabwe, where what is happening at the top of leadership, not maximizing social change, is now permeating to the bottom. So that's a couple of things that I would like to impress. And then also just an administration problem, which is now just piling up. As I mentioned earlier, 90% of refuse collection used to be collected by the government until 2006. Now we can sit here and machinate what is the problem after 2006 and so forth, and I'm sure many of us will have our different theories and analysis on these things. But clearly the problem is that in all sectors of government, ministries, council wards, there is an extreme administrative problem. Right now, that is not concerning the refuse collection. We've got a shortage of BCG vaccines right now, where people are now paying $30 to $50 to acquire a vaccine that should be given for free within the first 28 weeks of a child being born. Now, is this a problem of Zimbabwe not being able to afford BCG vaccines when they're given for free from a bunch of health organizations all over the world? Or is it an administrative problem where the administration aspects that are responsible for procuring these vaccines or things that are needed for these local clinics and so forth, are they doing the administrative duty that is to fill in these things and so forth? And if not, and if so, why is the buck not being propelled and being asked, why hasn't this been done? Why hasn't this been done? Why hasn't this been done? No one pays for BCG vaccines. You know, the city council has plumbers that they pay throughout the tenure of their city councilship. You know, these guys are already paid on. Why aren't they fixing these burst pipes that we're seeing? There's an administration problem that we seem to not be addressing. And the opposition has come today and told us, oh, it's because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then proponents that don't believe in that are saying, no, it's because they're not doing X, Y, Z. Both arguments, I think, are correct. However, I think the onus then again will lie on the citizen as to why are we not demanding better for ourselves? Why are we watching these pipes burst? How many people who have means to fix these pipes are walking past? This is what active citizenry is. It's participating in your country, it's participating in your democratic processes, and it's making sure that society is cohesive. Yes, it's the job of the council and opposition or whatever, if you want to call it, to do that. But why are we walking past burst pipes when there's people who can fix them amongst us in our citizenry? I'm sure many people who are important walk down the NASA road, including NASA people who work in those offices who oversee this burst pipe. You know, why aren't we fixing them? So those are the 4 things that I would just like to impress. In summary, let's understand our context as a competitive authoritarian regime. Let's understand that has the leadership been able to maximize social change that can then permeate into lower aspects of power, such as council and wards. Number 3, are we an active citizenry? Are we taking advantage of the democratic processes and demanding better for ourselves? Or are we just leaving it and trying to make a plan which then doesn't address the problem? And lastly, we need to have and bring imagination to these problems instead of pontificating. Our minds, and it's in our hands. Thank you.
Thank you for that APA youth agenda. You've raised quite some interesting things. One of which is, you know, has the leadership managed to maximize the social change? I'll put that question to you, Fortune Chassis. In your own opinion, obviously you're speaking on behalf of yourself. Do you think the leadership of the country has done enough to maximize, the social change, to get people involved in everything that's going on? Has everything been done? Do you think?
Well, I think the previous speaker is dealt with the issues crisply. There are things that we expect our leadership, whether it's central government or local government levels, to be doing. But as citizens, we may not have the resources, particularly under current circumstances, for us to be able to deal with the capital requirements for dealing with a particular problem. But at a minimum, we must have the determination to confront the local authority to deal with matters of concern to us. Like he has correctly pointed out, how people at NASA every day see, water gushing out of pipes at their premises and just walk past it every day. If they don't want or they do not have the resources to fix it, surely they should take the necessary demand on the local authority, because if you don't make those demands, if you don't complain, if citizens don't organize themselves on political grounds, and I really don't want to be mistaken to be speaking politics here,
I'm speaking to service delivery, and I am not bothered. The issues that I'm speaking about here are also endemic. The ZANU-PF run council in Mazowe. Garbage collection is a problem. Sewage is a problem. Just basic accountability to the public is a problem. So it's not about politics here. Let's focus on service delivery. And I think the residents associations that are in existence maybe need to claim better service delivery. So I'm aware that a lot of things are happening over the years in that respect. But I don't think we should remove our foot from the pedal, particularly when we look at issues that have a bearing on public health.
What is the point of me sleeping 8
Once
hours?
cholera sets in, it doesn't select whom to affect depending on your political affiliation.
So the fact that these things are coming up,
think that we need
it should motivate the voters.
to be organized
We
as
are
residents
not against voter registration
so
exercise.
that we can
We have seen the
be
videos
heard
by Kundai. We are
by
encouraging
council.
people, citizens, to go out and
I mean,
register
the
as
example I
voters.
gave about
And
the
we
car
have
that
for registration,
got into a
but
trench,
we have to get to a point
suddenly
as
the
citizens of
resources
Zimbabwe
were
to
there.
say, why am I
There were
pushing you to
about
vote?
15 men working
I don't
on
care
it,
who you
and
vote
by
for.
end of the
But why
day,
am I pushing you to
the
vote?
trench was covered.
I'm pushing you to
So
vote
that
because I
just
want your
shows you
vote to
that
count at the end
some
of the
of
day,
the
right?
issues
But
are
we have had
really
this issue since
a
the inception
reflection
of
of the
the
lethargy that
MDC that
is
things have been
in
said like
council,
progressing
and the fact that
I was not in the voting
probably
age, but I knew of Ricky.
probably
And I remember very
management
well going
is
to
a problem.
a voting station.
You can't send
when I was
people
young. I
to
think
go
it
and
was
do a piece of
2005.
work and you don't
my
follow
mom and
up
my
and
sister
go
got
and
voted
check
in the evening, and they were there
in
since
the
morning.
barriers that
And
are
they
put
cried the next
to
day
warn
that
the public. They are
I didn't even
laughable.
know how they were rigged.
That's why this vehicle
And
ended
no one
up
had the
in the,
audacity
and
to
I
say,
hope people had
"Oh,
seat belts.
Zimbabweans, we
They
were rigged
didn't have
because of this
children
so,
in the
right?"
car.
No one had
And
the audacity.
quite frankly, I
We go
hope
back
they
to
are going to sue
2018, we
council.
speak of
I just don't see how
election
a matter like
manipulation,
that
go
should
to
end.
National Central.
If they don't sue council, council should
trying to
know
report
that it
people
can be
voted
sued.
in 2 hours from between
You
5
know,
and
you have
7
all
p.m.,
sorts
right?
of dangerous
No one came out and
situations
explained
which council
what
is
So
required
Jessica, I'm saying to you,
by law
if you don't
to
vote,
ensure that
if your voter does not
they
vote,
protect the
means
public
what?
from.
That your
They
vote
just
is
go
what?
on
That your vote
for
is
years,
lost, right?
and there is no warning and so forth. So better organized residents, organizations which make a spirited demand of professional delivery of services, and will not tolerate mediocrity in service delivery. Thank you.
Correspond with thank you for that contribution. We'll move on to Susan. Susan, would you like to
are we following in order? Because I've been here.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Justin. You'll speak after Susan. So sorry.
Good evening, guys. Well, just listening to what the other speakers have been saying. Yeah, I think it's kind of like heartbreaking to see, well, the amount of rubbish. You know, before that the city was so clean up and everything, but at the moment, it just looks very pleasant. You know, sometimes thinking when you look at the pictures of Harare alone, it's shocking. And I'm not really proud myself to show pictures of Harare. And I'm just thinking, well, where do you start to look at? And if you compare Lusrape, you think that Lusrape is the capital city of Zimbabwe because it's so clean. You know, and I think the problem which is happening, okay, we understand that whatever argument they do political, but at the end of the day, I think what is happening with our local councils, we as citizens of Zimbabwe, before we vote in these people, we need to be able to speak up to those people, let them talk to us to see what are they going to do with their jobs so that we understand that these people are capable of delivering service to the people. Because sometimes we vote in people without not understanding, are they having a setting of their job they are going to deliver to the people or to their cities. So we need to understand, profile them, you know, to know them, you know, speak to them before we vote them in. Because like all these years,
okay, we keep on saying that. I know that people keep on saying we are fighting because of SundayRally. Then it's always playing games, but at the end of the day, we have got a job to deliver to our city. So I think to avoid this, if someone is not performing, let them put them out and replace them with other people, because if we don't do that, then we can't keep on putting in some people when we don't need services. Because if I'm a citizen of Harare, I'm not at my house to Harare anyway, because everything of Harare put me off. I don't know if you have a house in Harare at the moment, to be honest, because it's so dirty. I never seen the amount of dirt in Harare ever in my life. We need to ask them, what are they doing? What's the problem? Let's say if they're saying that the local authorities are not giving money, they should be able to go to the court and challenge them. Then you see that you've done something. Give us a proof that you've challenged the case why you're not getting the funds. Challenge them and say, okay, we have done this and that, but the local authorities haven't released the money, the government, whatever authority. So bad, because if they keep on saying we can't do this because we don't have funds, so that means it's not worth us for people to vote, to have on TV. Well, I think to have councillors or people of Harare being run by parties, maybe let's just be a neutral government, whatever organization, because it's not working. Then to say SundayRally has to fund, and then it could be CCC or MDC or whatever, councillors in the power. So because we can't live a normal. It's not normal. What is happening in Harare is not normal. If there is no solution, we as citizens of Zimbabwe, we need to come up with a solution and do something about it, because it's just not healthy. Look at Blawa. Blawa is still like Harare. You can't have this is the capital city where everything is in. How are we then have what we have like people who come in, investors. You can't invite the investors, they come and see the whole thing, but because of the amount of traffic, so we need to come up with a solution to do something about City of Harare, to bring it back to normal, because what is happening in Harare is not normal to me. I don't know other people who are comfortable to pass by rubbish every day. It's not normal to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan, for your contribution. So you've mentioned an issue of competency, that we need to be able to ensure that everybody who's elected in a position is competent to do the job.
I remember the whole people spoke about that we need to know these people before they go into power. Bring us your CV, talk to us. We understood. Are you going to perform this job? Not to hide. Sometimes, okay, if there's a problem, whatever we are saying, we can't get money. Did you go to court to challenge them to say, why are you getting money from the local whatever authorities to release money? Will they have to be competent? There's some.
Hello, I think we have lost the speaker. Or maybe it's me, I don't know.
It's myself, isn't it? I asked you, I was supposed to be going first.
Yes, go for it, Mike.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe first and foremost, nobody is happy about the uncollected refugee, wherever it could be in Harare, whatever city. It's not a healthy situation. We do agree, but we are falling prey to the local or to the current government's play. To say what exactly they wanted is actually their achievement today, where we are going to blame a full blame on council. Because up to now, everybody's blaming council. But from a synopsis of what the mayor said, surely we could be actually deliberating on issues which touch all the accounting authorities maybe to task. Why am I saying so? There are a number of issues that we need to tackle, because it's not only about collecting refuse and that's it. There's also something to do with the sewer. If you look at the design of these cities, they were designed long back with a colonial mentality to say only a few could be permitted, must dwell in those urban setups, but the population has grown. So the infrastructure has not been grown to accommodate that. So I'm talking with particular reference to issues to do with the sewer. You can't expect the sewer system that was put in place for 100,000 people to still accommodate 1.5 million today. What is the growth plan? The growth plan does not only come, actually it doesn't come from council if there is no devolution of power. We can only hold councils 100% accountable when there is devolution of power. If there's no devolution of power, then it means the responsibility lies much with the central government than the city council. Secondly, with the issue to do with the refuse collection, the mayor, I'm not supporting all what he said, but I'm picking on the highlights that he said. There are some other projects that you can't do on a cash budget. For an example, we've got people here, even on space, who are talking about them, demanding service is not bad. But if you look at them, they may not be actually up to date with their rates. They may not be somehow, actually, they are not holding accountable the government that is taking vehicle registrations, vehicle licensing. They are not holding the government accountable. Yet they are driving. Somebody was talking, actually, it's that professor. I'm sure, without attaching him to his political party, but there was some arrogance in the whole professor to say, I'm driving my car and this and that. He's actually minding about her car over council, yet he knows pretty well who collects car taxes. So at the end of the day, we are actually running away from the point. So we can blame the council all we want, but we know where our problem is. How do we have a whole minister, a local government minister, whom we can't hold to account? Unfortunately, with the advocate Fortune Charles, he can tell us, if he's honest, why he was demoted from the ministerial position. He knows the current government's politics. He knows actually what happens in the government, between government and the local government. So it's actually unfortunate that we are holding only the council to account, yet we are not holding our government to account. The government collects vehicle licenses, but nobody is holding accountable to fixing of roads. The government collects some road taxes, some to do with what you call this pollution tax. We are actually ignoring the government, yet we know how much tax is collected. What is done since independence up to today in terms of development and the decentralization. Everybody is now congested Harare. Why? Because there's no plan, there's no infrastructure outside where we can have the different services, which are spearheaded by a local by a central government, not a local government. Worse off, when we don't have devolution in power, you can't talk of any expansion outside the central government. So we can't have a minister paid at our expense and still not holding him to account. If you can suggest that, let's do away with the councillors so that we don't elect them. We just have what you say, those professionals to run the councils and the likes. Why are we not doing again away with the minister who is not even being held to account? Let's also abolish that ministerial position. We know that things are not working. We've got people like Chasi. Chasi used to do his best. So if the minister is not being held accountable, why things were different at his time and not now? If the minister does not have an influence over over a ministry that he oversees. So at the end of the day, what we are saying is, let's not. Actually, somebody was talking about the leadership traits that are on government level that are being more like taken into the local governments. Why? Because there's nobody to monitor. You say we play an oversight role as a government. Why are we not doing that? How can, at one time, actually, I was shocked, old president Mnangagwa asking about the rampant corruption, and he asked somebody, a journalist, I don't know what to do. Yet you call yourself what do you call chief, commander in chief. You've got all arms of state at your disposal, but you ask a journalist what to do. That tells you that we can talk all we want, but if the government is not going to stamp its authority, honestly, we are not going anywhere. And then secondly,
There's a video that circulates about Mnangagwa saying all the councillors and all the opposition, they can bring their discontentment and issues, but it will not go anywhere. Why? Because there is a ZANU-PF minister who sit down on those things. So why do we expect much more on the opposition alone and not also focus on the central government? So on the central government. So that tells you that I'm not vindicating the opposition councillors. I'm also holding them to account. But let's not solely blame the local government without blaming the central government. So at the end of the day, these guys, especially who have been in ZANU-PF, they know how these systems work. Why is Chasi no longer a minister? He knows why, but he still ran away from the fact that he knows. Why do we have this professor putting blame on a local government which does not collect road licenses, but yet she's minding about her vehicle being driven in unroadworthy, yet she knows where money is going to. So at the end of the day, we can talk all we want, but why are we not holding our government accountable? Why are we not even also? We can have people do these things voluntarily to say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do what. We have got councillors at top, they can sit in the boardroom, but we've had circumstances in times where they pass on a bylaw, somehow it's actually downtrodden by the minister will not sign and approve that. Why? Because the minister is a ZANU-PF minister. So he can't allow that. So at the end of the day, these councillors, they are there, but they are managers who are, why do we have Muguti? Yes, no, now Muguti can suspend people, can issue statements about what the city of Harare is going to do. But when the blame comes, they say they are opposition councillors and whatnot, yet they know the people who are running the councils. So at the end of the day, this blame game, you have fallen prey to the ZANU-PF trick where they want you to hold the opposition councillors accountable, yet they know that they oversee and the author, they've got the final say pertaining matters to do with councillors, with the council running. Otherwise, we'll talk until cows come back home. There's nothing that's going to be changing. And we know our hard law and our greatest enemy to development. Look at national level. Somebody was talking about these pills that could be given for free of charge. They are not even found in the government hospitals. So that will tell you that the dilapidation of economic situation and the malfunctioning of all institutions in Zimbabwe, it will come back to the current government and its leaders. We had Jacob Ngarvume. At one time, we wanted to do a cleanup. What happened to him? If you they are telling us citizens and the councillors and opposition councillors, they must come up with a plan and to clean up the city. They arrested him for cleaning up the city. So don't tell us that the opposition leaders, they don't know, they don't have a plan on what to do. They've been arrested for cleaning up the city. The Chamisa went to clean up a city, and guess what? There were truck full loads of riot people coming to beat up people and to disperse people who are cleaning. Menanga was at another place cleaning. Chamisa went to a different place, but because he's an opposition leader, he may not be in council, but that tells you that we are living in such evil environment where the ruling party thinks everybody who has to breathe, they have to allow and authorize that. So at the end of the day, these guys, you can vindicate them, but you know that they are the devils that are sitting on the progress path of the people of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, for your contribution. We'll be ending this space in about 25 minutes. So we're going to allow people to, have contributions, maybe 2 minutes each, to allow everybody to have their say before we shut down this space. The next person will be Njabulo. Please go ahead, Njabulo.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping everyone is okay wherever you are. Guys, there is a leadership book that I read that says everything rises and falls on leadership. I believe Zimbabwe having had very caring leaders, especially from the central government, because their duty and their responsibility is to make sure all the citizens of Zimbabwe are taken care of and And over the councils, we have a whole minister who is in charge of local government. If the local government is not performing, he is supposed to fire the mayors, fire the councillors for not executing their responsibilities. So, but when you look at the structures of Zimbabwe, we haven't seen a lot of people being fired for why the rubbish is not being collected, which means there is someone who knows why it's not being collected. Because if someone is not getting fired, then someone is incubating or abating or allowing it to be that, and that someone is someone who's in authority, and that someone who's in authority is the Minister of Local Government. If you want to see what I'm talking about, ZANU-PF is in charge of the rural municipalities. Check how much progress has been done in the rural municipalities. Check their roads, check everything. Then you come and you compare, then you'll know who's responsible. I'll say this to say this also, speaking of the councillors. One of the things that the central government has done, it has taken away a lot of revenues that are supposed to be supporting the local municipality. Like they took away the roads, logos, and that the disc payments were being done to the council, but they took it away. They took away electricity supply distribution. They took away the water. They took away quite a number of revenues that were coming directly into the council, which helped that in a place whereby right now for refuse collection, people are paying minimum. If you check your statement, maybe you're paying $5 or $6 for refuse collection. But if they knew that they were going to be taking from the other revenues so that they provide the service, but the central government took away the other revenues that were supposed to be coming for the use in the local municipality. And this is crippling the councillors or the municipalities in a huge way, because if people are failing to pay their municipality bills, and then now long back it was easier for them to take from the other profits they would have made from roads, they would have made from maybe electricity distribution, then put it into refuse and put it into water where people are lacking, and be able to still provide the service. But now the government took away all those other revenues, and it's making it difficult for the local government to perform in its fullest. And looking, even talking of the issue, I heard the professor speaking of potholes. Potholes, it's Zinara who is in charge of all the roads in Zimbabwe. And they assign the local government they give back certain amount of money into the local government so that they're able to repair roads. So we should look at how our local government functions in order for us to criticize it. It's not making a lot of money, and the people are not paying revenues. We have a central government that is hogging all the money, that is not releasing to try and develop, because the whole reason why we pay taxes is so that our countries develop, from local government going upwards into the internet, into the whole nation as a whole. So we need to address everything when we are addressing everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jabulo, for your contribution. Chris, you're next. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the space and thank you for hosting it. I am a City of Harare up-to-date ratepayer. I'm actually in the diaspora. I left my hometown about 22 years ago. It was definitely a different city to the state it is in today. I was hoping to hear real solutions about what needs to be done. But from the contributors, it is very easy to note who they are sympathetic to. Some are definitely sympathetic to the ruling party, and some are openly for the opposition. Now, so what I wanted my focus is not about who is to blame today. I was looking at solutions, the preparedness to actually offer real solutions of what needs to be done. But I think the priority, as far as I can see from here, is not about service improvement. It is mainly about really vote buying and trying to paint the other side black. Now, the economic situation in Zimbabwe has been on a downward spiral for over 2 decades. Nothing has improved, and we have adopted a culture of continuous redefinition of rock bottom, and that's where we are right now. Now, what needs to be done? I would expect people to actually say, because the local government is the supervisor of the councils, I would actually expect them to actually be in the lead, to actually call the councils to account. What needs to be done? What help do you need in order for us to provide a service that should be given to the people of Harare? Now, that is not forthcoming. Now, from the city of Harare, the least I would expect really is I would expect a publishing, as it has been said, about the effort they are making to litigate on the issues that, but on every problem they are facing from the government, so that as ratepayers, we know exactly what's happening. But I've got no idea. I mean, I've got no doubt whatsoever that they face insurmountable problems. It would be difficult for anybody to operate under the circumstances that they are operating. That's my contribution. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your contribution. Bearing in mind what Chris has just said in terms of solutions, maybe the next speakers could touch on possible solutions. What are the possible solutions to the current crisis that we're experiencing? Earlier speakers mentioned that citizens need to take a more active role in what is happening in their cities and in the country. We also need to be able to hold those in authority to account. Where service delivery is poor, we need to be able to confront all those authorities.
As Speaker, I wish all these things can be solved, because if you can check on some of this.
Sorry, I've just muted them. Right. Yeah. So I was saying, yeah, some of the speakers have mentioned that we need greater accountability in those in leadership. We need to be we need to be in a position to know how they are utilizing the resources that they are getting to build up trust amongst the citizens. But the key issue, that a lot of speakers have mentioned is that of that citizens need to take a more active role in everything that is happening. We need to demand more, from those who are providing a service, from us. Service to us. Mrs. Ruramai, would you like to make your contribution? Thank you.
Thank you so much. However, I would like to contribute in terms of the rubbish. It's not the problem with our rubbish and clearance, is to do with organizational issues. No one takes responsibility when they've done wrong in terms of councils and how they're elected and so forth. We have many people who are just career minded, but they don't really know what to deliver. And then in terms of solution, I've always suggested that the councils needs to go back to basics. we need to decentralize our councils, give back the local councils in terms of the counties, the towns, back their due so they can have independence on how they run their roads, their water, and so forth. Because I pay my water to waterfalls. So therefore, waterfalls needs to be responsible for the roads. The centralization has caused most of the issues that we have, because incapacitation goes with lack of resources in order to mitigate the needs of the people. And then we have Mayor, whatever his name is, who's no longer a mayor because he's a corrupt individual, coming here telling us things that were actually a lie. The roads are not the roads that we're complaining about, and the rubbish is the responsibility of the city of Harare. The rubbish clearance, he normally has picture taken saying, I'm now clearing the roads when it suits him, of rubbish. The Sinara is responsible for our roads in the whole of Zimbabwe, even where cars go to. Not just responsible for the roads in Harare. That's to do with us as citizens. In my road, Sinara has no jurisdiction in my road where I live. Let's be serious and stop um, politicizing things that are so sensible that we can actually sort out and look at solutions. What can we do as residents in order to mitigate the potholes in our streets? What can we do in terms of the Councils Act that he can't even read or even understand what exactly is his mandate in the whole mix of things? This habit of saying that Zimbabwe has not created cities or towns since Rhodesia. What kind of a mayor? Why was he running for that position when he creates so much lies? Where did Rua come from? Where did Rua come from? Let's be serious when we elect people who are so immature and lack professionalism and can't even recognize things that are actually supposed to sort out our cities, right? People are dying from cholera. People will die from diseases, from all these things, stagnant water and everything else that's coming up. Let's be serious and get people who can do the right job. It's up to you, residents, to choose people who are fit for purpose, not idiots who come here and pretend to be, politicians and criticize the places that they want to enforce into. 20 years they've had. What have they done? Oh, they can't create cities. Who are you? You're supposed to be part of those. You're part of the government, whether you're in opposition or not. You are responsible as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Could we please refrain from, insults towards other speakers? Could we please just focus on, the points that we want to put across? We just want to be respectful in this place. Thank you. The next speaker, is there?
Is there not a course? Yeah.
Please
I,
go
I,
ahead. Your
I
contribution.
found I found your room earlier, but I couldn't find because I think an individual who's hosting has blocked me or something. It doesn't matter.
Padare, it's okay. I've seen your ghost account and I've allowed you to talk.
Thank
But
you.
let's just stick to the subject.
It's not a
not
ghost
about me and
account.
you.
These are not ghost accounts. It's a
Sorry.
paid up account.
Could we please just focus on the topic that's at
Thank
hand,
you.
please?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, I just want people to know that it's not a ghost account. It's a paid up account.
I apologize.
Yeah. Listen. The thing is, we have to look at fundamental points when they're being said. One thing that I stood up one day and clapped my hands when they spoke last week. When they said no more excuses for failing our people in service delivery. That was when they're speaking. The excuse that we cannot clean streets, we cannot carry the rubbish and so forth, a councillor and so forth. He said that was when he said the new CCC will not be giving those excuses as they move forward. To me, what does that bring to me? It gives me hope that when the CCC gets some seats in this parliament, okay, we'll forget, because that's what that's what they say they're a new baby, we have forgotten about what they've done. But according to their Secretary General, there will not be excuses moving forward. And that's a positive, isn't it? And that's a hope, and it's recorded and that's where we have always been, despite the local government, the marriage between the local government and the councils, which is a very complicated, like Ramai said, very complicated system, and is something that in the next parliament we really need people who can articulate this, and the councils act really needs people to look at it and cut it open so that we can deliver good service to our mothers who cannot jump sewage, who keeps drinking diseased water that comes from these pipes, and so forth. So that should be our main effort as we go into the next parliament. So as we push for people who are going for these jobs, we need to sanitize them. Yes, it only takes someone to breathe in order for them to become a councillor in Zimbabwe currently. And that's a sin. It's the biggest sin that we can ever do. Just because someone can breathe, just because someone is a citizen, they can be a councillor. That's the worst flawed ever. As a people, we need to agree to that. That at least let's elect people. Whatever political formation you belong to, it doesn't matter. Put people who can hold the government to account, who can execute their job. Their job is to read policy and implement policy. That is their job. So let us not be forgiving when we look at that. That is a way forward. The electorate, you only have one vote. We hold harmonized elections in Zimbabwe. We'll be lucky if we get a by-election and so forth. Let us guard that jealously. Let's look at that vote and say, why should I give you my vote? Should I give you my vote so that you can blame the other for your non-performance? Should I give you my vote so you can tell me that you've been paid the whole year for the last 5 years and you've not gone to work? You have not even one day not gone into work because you are not happy with the council. You are a councillor. That's what you do. You go to work to perform for the people who you serve. And you've never been on strike. And yet you will come and blame the local government. That is not your job. If the local government is not working, the council itself, the councillors themselves need to down their tools and show the electorate that they mean business, they're serious with what they do, and they're serious with what they're demanding from these people. Rate pay. We should not give excuses. People who come here and give excuses, oh, there's no jobs, people are suffering. We politicalize everything in order just to win someone's vote or cheat them, actually, not to win them, to cheat them of their vote.
Mhm. Please, can you round up your comments?
Yes, I'm just about to round up. We need people who do as they say. We've got Honorable Nduna who's here, who's currently sitting, on the committees of councillors and stuff like that. Perhaps you need to give him a mic. Please, Honorable, if they give you a mic, please come up here. Educate us on what really goes on currently happening right now without bias or favor. So people, the children of Zimbabwe, could know the truth when they come to then electing these leaders or who to hold to account. How many people here have got properties that they rent out and do not pay taxes to them in these local areas we're talking about? You pocket all the money, you take it all, and you expect service delivery to be perfect to these places that you do. we are also robbing with one hand, pretending to give with the other. So perhaps maybe it's a shift of mindset that
Sorry,
we
could
so
you
need.
round up your comments so that we can get other people to also contribute?
Many thanks.
Yeah.
I've rounded up. Just
Thank you
think
so
about
much.
yourself. Think about really how you think. Can you please give Mr. Nduna? I know you take up the mic. Give him the
Okay.
mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. I'll add Honorable Nduna on now so that he can just contribute to the conversation.
Host, can we just contribute something? I need just to contribute a little clarity on some of the comments that I need to just put on. Do you mind to give me an opportunity?
Please hold on. Thank you. Whilst we're waiting for Honorable Nduna, can you please go ahead? Thank you.
Thank you, host. The matter which is actually sitting around the nation, which you can say now are Florence, Zimbabwe, there's a lot of things that needs to be done regarding to the council as well as the committees and the people surrounding the cabinet. Because if you can take a look on all cities, they don't actually look as cities. They are now changing to be like rural areas. And in a matter of a nation which, like Zimbabwe, is not supposed to be where it used to be before our liberation. Because now we selected councillors, we selected people due to our votes. And if you can just check, regarding to the nation as from that time being up to now, the nation needs to be a different and a better nation, rather than people being pocketing money, putting money into their own Sweden accounts whatsoever. It's not supposed to be in that manner, because we have got kids, we have got children, we have got relatives that also needs to survive in the nation. If you can check on our nation right now, we don't have any company, any big company at the moment. It's all due to corruption and all due to such kind of us who don't consider other people's humanity. We forget for those people who vote for people to be in power. I'm not referring to any political party. I'm just here as an individual who's just speaking for the citizens, because we need to change our behavior and our acts towards our nation. If you are inaugurated as a personnel to be running the city, to be running the council, you have to consider for the people who put you in position. Service deliveries needs to be done. You have to look to the community. We have to give back to the community. If we don't give back to the community, do you think that our people will give us our votes? No, people will retaliate from giving their votes due to that. So, in the matter of the nation to move forward, we have to think twice and put some acts. If I will speak of CC, of Citizen Coalition Change, I'd rather think of them, because now we see young people in power who are aging to come and change the nation. And we expect them to do as much as better so that the nation can move forward. We need a change so that our grandchildren and our grandchildren will see we have got a better Zimbabwe. If right now we have got some NGOs which trying to come into the nation to save our nation from, let's say, sustainability, we need to change our environment. There's a lot of garbage in the streets. There's a lot of, I can tell you, dirty which needs to be removed from the streets. We've got kids. Some of the dirty which is surrounding the nation. It's nasty. You can see a child picking a rubbish, which is a used condom, which is not supposed to be happening. And that is unhealthy for the environment. And our water is not actually perfect. We need proper water. We need proper sanitation so that the nation can move on. So I hope all the people who are in, like also there's Honorable Dexter Nduna around there. I think you just speak some of the things. And I wish him to speak something which is actually accurate for the people to understand. As of him, he has to say something that will be understandable. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Honorable Nduna, would you please go ahead? The conversation is uncollected rubbish, is a health hazard. Many people have commented on lack of accountability within the the local councils, and some people are saying central government, has, is to blame. Um, so we're trying to find solutions to the situation that's going on at the moment. We just want to focus on the solutions and not assign blame. Maybe you can take the floor and give us your opinion on what you think could be done about the current situation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I'll go on straight to the solutions. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. In local government or where there are councillors, there are also committees. There are also committees. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, there are also committees that play oversight in the council for management on how they conduct and carry out their mandate. In Parliament, there is 20 portfolio committees. There's about 7 thematic committees. Thematic committees reside in the Senate, and portfolio committees reside in the National Assembly. So the reason why there's those committees, because they're a blend of all parties, and they avoid the whipping system where the ruling party maybe says, this is what we want, and the opposition also says, maybe this is what we want. So committees are a blend of all parties. So they come up with ideas that are robust and are supposed to play oversight on the local authorities first, and then the executive in Parliament second. So the issue that I think is required is the issue of making sure that there is activation of those systems that are in place already. Because when you are voted into office, let's say for councillors, you cease being a councillor just for the opposition party or for the ruling party for that matter, because you are now a city father for all those that are in your ward, including those that did not vote for you. Because when you lay the pipes for water, sewer, and collect garbage, you are now doing it for all those that even supported the other protagonists without fear or favor. So this needs to reside in the mindset of the city fathers. And there is 2 or 3 issues that people are voted into office, especially when they are city fathers. They are voted into office in order that they provide effective and efficient water and sewer reticulation. That's the first. The second one is infrastructure development, that is housing. And then maybe the third one, which is also very key, is a health care delivery systems. You have heard
Right. I don't know what's happening to Honorable Ndona. Can you hear me?
I think maybe he's having technical difficulties. Whilst we wait, for him to be able to come back, could we go to Team Sanjo? Please, can you keep your contributions short? Thank you.
All right, thank you for the time. My contribution is like this. Thank you for all the presenters that presented before me. But what I think is the solution to our problem that we are facing as the Harare seat is the city council must be independent from the government. The city council must not be like influenced by the central government. The council must have its own apparatus and operate independently, like in other countries, like in US and in South Africa. You wouldn't find a central government interfering in the matters of the city councils. But if you look at Zinara, Zinara is meant to resurface and maintain our roads, but they just collect money. They don't repair any road. We paid uh, for licenses and we pay for toll gates. But you would find out when you arrive at a toll gate, you would find the potholes, the road is in very bad condition, but they are collecting toll fees. I wonder how those toll fees are used for. They are just looting and looting. At the end of the day, because we as Zimbabweans, we are misinformed and we are being fed propaganda, we end up blaming the council. But the council, from my own understanding, they are doing their best, but there is no money. Zinu, I don't even understand the purpose of Zinu. What is Zinu doing in Zimbabwe? They are just collecting money, but they are doing nothing. And at the end of the day, we blame the city council. And if you were to find out the directors at Harare City Council, you'd find out those guys, they are the ones in charge, but they are doing nothing. But at the end of the day, we blame the councillors, but the councillors, they don't have the power. But if we like have an act that governs the city council and that set the city council free from the central government, then we can expect development. But if things goes like this, then if we have a central government that is run by a different party and a local government that is run by a different party, then there's no development that we are going to expect. Because if things goes well, the ruling party takes responsibility. But if things goes bad, the opposite party takes the blame. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Stephen, would you like to go ahead with your contribution? Thank you.
Thank you very much, host and co-host and all those around. Uncollected rubbish, yes, is a health hazard, but that is not only the problem that city councils face. There are problems of the quality of the water coming out of the taps is bad. The roads are in bad state, and there are quite a number of things that are not in place. But how do we solve that? Sorry, this situation that we have now. At one point, we had a working system that didn't have rubbish, taking heaps of rubbish in every corner of the street, the water being so bad, the roads being so potholed. There was a system that was working. What happened to that system? What actually happened to the structures that were in place to have that system work? That's where we should go. I think we should go back to innocence and put up the systems that were there, put up the structures that were there. Then we can start improving them so that we have a working council, we have a working government, we work a working service delivery. Because with this, we can't go anywhere. Going on the issue of the blame game, the council saying it's the central government saying it's the councils. I think this is a matter that we can describe as a pot that has had too many hands and the pot has become spoiled. Why don't we have a system? Why don't we have the council doing what they are supposed to do and the central government doing what they are supposed to do? We can't expect the councils to run effectively when they cannot collect anything. That's out of this world. They can't make miracles to put service delivery in place when they are not collecting anything. If we look at Zinwa, they are now the owners of water distribution in cities and towns. Yes, but they just took these things. How much did the Zinwa pay for Morton Jeffrey Waterworks? How much did they pay for the infrastructure that is in place? They just go there, and the next day they collect, they charge for the delivery of water to our homes, and they make a profit out of it. But how much? Vakaziwoda kupi, vakaziwoda mari, zvawakuitisa mari nhasi. We are only disenfranchising the councils of their infrastructure. Before, like the city of Harare, I grew up there, and I stay there. I also have a property in there. City of Harare had a number of money generating projects. They had the city council bars and all that. But I was talking to somebody yesterday and told me that most of those city council bars have been taken by someone. I will not mention the name here, but somebody has taken them and he is using them for his own businesses and all that. But that was something that was bringing in money to the city council to improve the service delivery. Why did that go away? How much did that person pay? What was the money used for? You know, who collected that money? Who put that deal in place to have the city council bars taken? Referral marketing was a man spinning project for the city council, and that brought in something for them. So I think the solution that I see in this is to go back to innocence. Let's go back to the structures that were there when these things were working. Let's go back to the structures that were there when the service delivery was super. Let's go back to the systems that were in place when these things were working. I think from there we can work out, because we can't improve them now because they are not in place. Let's put the systems in place, then we improve them with time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. The custodian, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, host. I've been waiting for quite some time, and this network just got a terrible connection here. But anyway, I would like to just add on to what other speakers had said earlier, just to buttress what Professor had said earlier also. It all boils down to us as citizens. You see, we have got a bad culture of littering everywhere. We have got this tendency of ignorance. We don't even care if you drive into town, Harare CBD, early in the morning. You see the whole town, even wherever you're at, in First Street, Second Street, uptown, downtown. It's litter everywhere. You go to Market Square, it's litter everywhere. There is improper management of waste in Harare. But let me hasten to say this is not council's problem to say, because you see, since 1980, when Zimbabwe actually adapted to the current, or to the systems that have been put in place by the colonial regime, they didn't copy, or they didn't put themselves to study how these towns, how these cities or district councils were operating, and now it's now a blame game. At the same time, you realize that we have got private players who have gone, we have actually donated refuse bins in the capital city. But you can walk from Copacabana to 4th Street with litter in your hands. You find no place to put those things. There are certain things that local authority can do. There are certain things we are saying yes they can't do because of resources, but the little that they can do, we need to see. Like the other speaker had said earlier, there are certain few things that they can do, small things. They're able to do that. Let us see as citizens. The other speaker actually said we need to hold the government accountable. How as citizens can we hold the government to account to certain things? At the same time, look at you had actually invited the Honorable Nduna. I was just praying that you be very short and precise. I know you speak lengthy and gets into the nitty gritties of it. But on our political situation in Zimbabwe, there is what is called the whipping system. Being a media practitioner and having covered parliament for quite some time, you find you're in parliament, there is a good motion, a debate that has been put across that members, you expect members from both sides, the MDC, the Triple Cs, and OPF can actually debate and deliberate and come up with good solutions. For no apparent reason, it's just chaos, and you find there is no solution to answers. And with the whipping system now, it's difficult to come up with policies, to come up with legislation which are good for every citizen. You see, so we have got a political or probably a leadership crisis that we have in Zimbabwe, which we need to address. We have got a certain behavior which we need to address as citizens. Earlier, Honorable Justice spoke of water gushing out of those pipes. And this is clean water, which is chemicals that have been used. But come to ask, is there no one at the local authority who can come and attend to this gushing water all over and everywhere? They are, but we no longer have that culture of working because of poor remuneration. We've got poor work ethics that we have. We no longer care about what things to prioritize for whatever reasons we don't know. So yes, politics come into play, but at the same time, we as citizens, we are more like ignorant to some of these things. Earlier, let's talk. I remember the Auditor General. I think if Honorable Nduna connects, you actually clarify on some of these issues. Auditor General is given a number of recommendations, and he has also highlighted quite a number of things that speak to accountability and transparency. And some of those recommendations haven't been met or even addressed. What is the problem? It's a problem that we have. In fact, it's now being a culture which we have, which a culture of which is of corrupt behavior and tendencies, a culture which lacks transparency and accountability. No one wants to respond to issues of accountability and transparency. For example, I can give you the local authority. In 2016, purchased the refuse truck. 2016, and up to now, Harare City Council hasn't received that refuse truck. What is the problem? The problem is RBZ. RBZ didn't release the funds as per request. Where did RBZ didn't release the funds? Now the problem is local authority. Local authority is failing to collect refuse. No, we are going in circles. We are going in circles. Jacob Ngaruvu last time actually went to Parim Sika. He was removing garbage all over. What happened? Marian Chombo was on TV. He said, we are in charge. We are taking over everything. And they started collecting garbage. What happened next? It was just for a TV show. The next thing, there was garbage everywhere. So politics, we cannot ignore. It's everywhere, and everyone is doing it. But we need to have a sense of humor as citizens of Zimbabwe. It's impossible to call someone to order at this point in time. But we as citizens, everyone at the top, from top to bottom, how can we come back to our senses and say we need to deal with problems of service delivery? Councillors are as good as members of parliament. Their roles are to play oversight. How they are supposed to to attend to issues of malpractice, in fact, and bring issues to attention to that. I understand the previous speaker from APA actually spoke about administration and administrative roles, which majority of local authorities are failing to actually deal with. There is leadership crisis in these organizations and institutions. I think I'll end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the custodian, for your contribution. Honorable Nduna, you were cut off previously. Would you like to take the mic? Thank you.
Thank you so very much. But I'll just add onto the previous speaker's issue where councillors are supposed to play oversight. But when I got cut off, I basically was saying the qualification of becoming a councillor, you just need to be registered. You just need to be a registered voter, nothing else. But you'll find that management, they're more they've got more education aptitude than the councillors. And I think it is time that we put the right people in the right places so that you cannot play oversight on somebody who is degreed, and when you're grade 7 or form 2, or you are O level and somebody's got a master's, and or chamber secretary, they've got a law degree and another LLM in at law. So there is definitely need to up the game in terms of who wants to be voted into office. They need to be more qualified than the management. That way they can play a crucial oversight role over the people that they're managing, or that are managing the affairs of council. That is, it might be the Auditor General's report comes out annually, and it actually exposes whatever would have happened in local authorities. But I want to focus on solutions. I do not want to mourn about the water that would have been spilled. We are currently looking at 2019 Auditor General's report, and like the previous speaker said, there are issues that were observed by the Auditor General that speak to and about non-delivery of refuse trucks since 2016 and such like. But this is where even the RBZ is hamstrung. The amount of foreign currency that is required by the market and by the citizens is much more than what the gold deliveries are bringing in, and the duties and forex are bringing in, and such like. If we had a level playing field, we'll be getting grants and all other foreign currency reserves from World Bank and IMF and other multilateral lenders. But apparently we are fighting with one hand tied in the back, and against somebody who has got both their hands and including their feet. But you would then find that there's a backlog in terms of delivery of machinery to local authorities for those that would have purchased, and it's observed, and it is seen in the light of delay, and rightfully so. RBZ has not been able to finance all those, but Minister of Finance has taken over that debt as blocked funds, where RBZ was supposed to bring in money during that time. And I can actually testify and say these monies that have been disbursed by Minister of Finance to the companies that were supposed to supply some of these pieces of equipment back then, and they are beginning to supply now because they've been given the foreign currency. that they were supposed to be given by RBZ at the time. It then takes a turn of legacy debts. So this is what is happening in terms of delivery of equipment. But the observations by the Auditor General are that those machines have not been delivered for a long time. And a good example also is a $70,000 front-end loader that was purchased by Bindura Rural District Council that had not been delivered. But I am alive to the fact that the Ministry of Finance has started paying a company part of their $5 million so that it can supply the more than 50 pieces of equipment to those local authorities. So that is one issue that you can only hear directly from Parliament portfolio committees, and I'm happy to be on this space to share this information. But this is unpacked in the Auditor General's report. And 9 times out of 10, the Auditor General has been viewed as somebody that observes the systems that are in place and the delinquent behavior, the hemorrhage and the illicit outflows and the revenue leakages in the local authorities. And then there has never been action against those people that would have caused a council to suffer, because at the end of the day, lack of service delivery comes about because the monies for the rates and all that have either not come into the coffers or have come in and have been misused. There's been corruption, collusion, and there's been coordinated hemorrhage of council funds by the learned management and the middle managers, without the councillors even knowing, because like I said, the councillors need to up their game in terms of education and knowing what their duties are supposed to be. So it is my thinking that once there is now action taken on these management teams that are busy hemorrhaging council, we are going to have a paradigm shift in terms of change in the mindset and culture change of service delivery in the local authorities. All the monies are going to be going into the right places and for the right reasons and going towards service delivery. Yeah, this is my thinking. There's a lot of revenue streams for councils, and as long as they take that money that they put it in the right place, the money that is coming from the residents. Earlier, somebody was saying the residents are not paying, but there are a lot of residents also that are paying for service. This is what council is supposed to be charging for service, not trying to charge for water that it is not giving, something to that effect. An example would be if you have if you are paying for electricity, or if you go and buy an electricity token, you expect that it is going to take you the distance for the amount of electricity that you have bought yourself. But you find that there are councils that are charging ratepayers for service that is not been rendered, tower lighting that is not being rendered, and for water that is not coming out, for bins and the garbage collection that is not being collected. So that is a daylight robbery, and it should come to a screeching halt. So the Auditor General observes all these things, but you find that the councillors are also there for a period of maybe 5 years. In management, they've got what is called performance-based contracts. And 9 times out of 10, when councillors come into office, they are coming in at the tail end of some contracts for management. So you'll find that some managers are stealing so that they go vakubira kuenda vakuya kutoririra kubvaruka. The councils, maybe like Bulawayo and maybe like Harare, they farm land where they keep their cattle. Has anybody ever wondered how many cattle actually give birth to calves and such like, and an audit, has it ever been carried out on such cattle? So you find that maybe these cattle are giving birth for the good of the person that is heading those cattle. So as soon as the calf is given birth to, they take them to their farm or something to that effect. There are a lot of revenue streams, and the Auditor General, unfortunately, cannot get onto all these revenue streams. But I'm just trying to show you that once all this money is taken on board, they could definitely be good service delivery. So that is my those are my suggestions, and those would be the solutions, to say let's can what we get, let's get what we can and can what we get, and use that money. There is a lot of land out there that has been misused by local authorities. So you'll find that if this land is optimally utilized using the master plans that have been approved by central government, you find that there might not be any want for the local authorities in terms of revenue generation and usage, and then there could be good service delivery. That is my view. And currently, we have just opened Parliament on the 14th of February, and we are now going to be looking at the 2020 Auditor General's report. They are ready for tabling. That's what she said on Monday the 14th. And now we have just nearly concluded the 2019 Local Authority Auditor General's report, because I chair that subcommittee on public accounts. And we are now going into the 2020 Auditor General's report for all the 92 local authorities. In the 2019 Auditor General's report, there are 16 local authorities that failed to produce financial statements for auditing. So we definitely have some sanctions of some sort that are going to be meted on those councils. And we have had about 2 or 3 arrests arising from the observations of the Auditor General. One arrest was in Masvingo, and such like. Yesterday, we were interrogating Rua local board, where they bought cell phones and iPads which were not delivered. And then where somebody misused about 8,000 liters of coupons or fuel coupons. And then you'll find that the town clerk or the chief executive officer treats these matters as labor issues. So I actually said, no. You're supposed to report these matters, and that was back in 2017, 2018. Report these matters to the police and use the Criminal Law Codification Act and the Public Finance Management Act and the Auditor General's report in order to criminalize such delinquent behavior. So behind closed doors, there is quite a lot of shenanigans happening, but the Auditor General unpacks what happens, and it is the duty of Parliament to make sure that it gives teeth to the Auditor General's report. I asked the Rural Local Board how far they were from the police camp. They said it was maybe a kilometer away. And then I asked them why it has taken them about 4 years to travel 1 kilometer, even if they were walking to the police camp, they could have gotten to the police camp. And so you can see that there are a lot of issues that are happening in the local authorities, but the committees in those local authorities are not taking those issues seriously, because they don't know what their mandate is, because obviously they are being hoodwinked by the more educated managers than they are themselves, the councillors. So, but we do not shy away from our work. but the quest and also the initiatives and everything else is meant so that we can have good, robust, efficient, effective service delivery in the local authorities. Across the political divide, I have already said, you cease being a councillor or an MP for a particular party once you are voted into office. You are now even the president. You are President Emerson Mnangagwa for the whole nation, and there is no need to talk politics during the time of your tenure, but to deliver kwizenzo kungamazwi. You then create robust and resilient infrastructure development for everybody. And the local authorities, by their nature, they also have bylaws that they produce. They are lawmakers in a way, and it is also key that they make bylaws that make them create an environment, a conducive environment for their operations. Those would be my submissions.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nduna. I have a question for you. You mentioned that obviously the councils were waiting, for the delivery of refuse trucks since 2016, and because the RBZ was not able to service the forex that was needed for those trucks. But we know that from that time, the ministers have received new cars. Pollard received new cars. ZEC received new cars. The chiefs received new cars. Do all those cars take precedence over the vehicles that are needed to deliver service to citizens?
I am not competent to answer that question. I think from where I stand, I'm just an ordinary citizen like you, and I am also subject to the Constitution. And if I had to speak on behalf of a department, let's say of the executive or the judiciary, then I would be digressing, and I would be assuming power that speaks against the separation of power, or the separation of authority. There is the judiciary, there is the executive, and then there is the legislature, who is me. But if you ask me for the opinion of what or what not was supposed to occur in the executive or the judiciary, I would still not be the right person to answer that. Even if you asked about parliament, I'll then say let us direct that inquiry to the right office, so that I'm not found to be foul.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nduna, for that. Welcome. Would you like to make a contribution? Thank you. Welcome. Are you there? Welcome, Max Bebe. If not, we can go to Lon.
Thank you, host and co-host, for the opportunity. I think I've been listening from the time of the mayor, when the mayor was presenting. And I think I will not say a lot really. I will just probably touch on a few points. Most of the things probably I would have said have been said. But if you listen to obviously Honorable Nduna, Honorable Chasi, I think the local authorities are a microsome of the whole country. To expect the local authorities to flourish when the country is failing, I think we are being theoretical, to be honest. And again, the way the local authorities are tied to central government, it's I actually think that if the government led by ZANU-PF would actually let the local authorities do what they're supposed to do. Now we don't know this blame whether it's right or not, because the central government does interfere. But if it would let local government run, there'll be no one to blame. when they fail. But now, because there is interference, there's centralization, there's no devolution. We now, when the central government is blamed for the failures of local authorities, as citizens, whether it's true or not, but we tend to agree because we see the interference. We have seen how, I mean, look, Fortune Chance was talking about management, right? Which I totally agree that there are certain things that don't need money, that, but you remember when when the city of Harare wanted to appoint James Mshore, a banker of a well-known banker, as the town clerk, who is the chief executive officer of the city of Harare. What did the government do? They Kaswere blocked the city of Harare from doing that. And we could talk about laws not following procedure, but how then do you blame them for mismanagement when they want to appoint the competent people? You block them. Now the city councils cannot appoint chief executive officers, cannot appoint town clerks without consulting with central government. So now if the chief executive officer or the management fails, who do you blame? They don't have the authority, they don't have the autonomy to appoint the managers that they feel could run the city properly. So it's really a challenge. Then you look at, I've had interactions with local authorities, from a financing perspective. If you look at the data's book of local authorities, I don't know, might have changed now, but a couple of years ago when I was involved in this, you see that the biggest data in there are governments. You could see probably government departments, you could see maybe army, they're not paying. So, but then still the local authority is expected to deliver. So, I think the whole country should expecting local authorities to work in a country that's not working properly. Tuna was talking about, bringing people probably to book who are, probably involved in, illegal activities, fraud, or, embezzling funds. But at national level, corruption is not being addressed, the way it should. So it's the whole system just needs an overhaul. If you look at someone was talking about.
We know how many youth that happen.
So someone was talking about, I think it's the whole culture of work, of ethic. It's not affecting just local authorities. Accountability, it's the whole system, it's the whole government, it's the whole, I think just the culture now that, as Zimbabweans, we just need to work and, get around. So a lot of things, I mean, there are simple things that, as local authorities should be able to fix easily, which are not happening. But again, it's the same with everywhere in a lot of places in Zimbabwe. Now, when I look, I've lived in Zimbabwe I left Zimbabwe about 4 years ago. And if you look back, really, there are a lot of things that Zimbabweans tolerate that we should not be tolerating. Service delivery, customer service, we are not respected.